So just the other day, we did a video talking about the Insta360 Ace Pro and how much we actually enjoyed taking it with us and using it as a vlog camera for our trip down south. But today we're talking about the other camera that I took. Yeah, and I went on a whole holiday and basically only took two cameras, the Insta360 Ace Pro and the Insta360 X3. Now, I've been a person that has shot Insta360 360 cameras pretty much since they started making 360 cameras. I believe the very first one I ever had was the Insta360 One, the 1X, the X2, and now, of course, the X3. And each one of these cameras, in regards to 360, I think they're all maybe incrementally better at what they do as a 360 camera. You know, if you put the original or the 1X, which is the oldest one that I have now, and you put it up against the X3, does the X3 look better? Yeah, 100%. It stitches better, it's got more data in it, etc., etc. Does the original one still work? It does. Surprisingly enough, for me, it still works, even though I put them through a fair bit of abuse. The X2 I have, is the X3 better? I would say a little bit. Could I get away with still using the X2? Probably. Actually, most definitely. But, of course, there are a few primary features of the X3 that I think I actually got to use on our trip, which are not something that the original X, the X1, the X2 have. And just the new build with the front-facing screen, that new really large, you see it there, that really large screen that's on there right now, that's actually really nice, especially when you compare it to the older X cameras. So let's talk about my thoughts. What were some of the features that I used with the X3 when I went, and what my thoughts were. So I didn't use necessarily the X3 as a primary camera. I definitely used the Ace Pro as my primary vlogging camera. But there was a lot of times where I wanted to get things like the family walking, or I wanted to be able to set it up and, you know, just be able to get shots of wherever and not have to think about framing it or anything like that I used. Plus, I wanted to be able to try some of the new features. So in regards to 360 features, again, it's very similar to the previous generations, just maybe a little bit better. I think when you do bring it into the app, or you do bring it into the computer version, the Insta360 Studio, which is what I use, you are seeing a bit better quality. You're seeing a bit better like color. You're seeing, it's just a bit better, right? Is it worth necessarily the upgrade from the X2 to the X3? I don't know. Maybe not. In that regards. Now, the one thing to realize too, that I had a lot of people when I posted the video in regards to the screen protectors, not the screen protectors, the lens protectors, because you will see I am rocking. Hope you guys can see that I am rocking the lens protectors on this camera. And I had a fair bit of people talk about, oh, they get in the way, they fog up, they do this, they do that. Now, I'm going to be the first person to tell you this, and the second person, I'm going to tell you this in a second because my battery's dying. Hold on. The fogging issues, a lot of people have talked about fogging issues, and you know what? Fogging issues is something that happens with cameras in general. You know, I've shot a lot of vacations and trips where I'm a person that when I go on trips and I go into a cold room, or I go into my hotel room, I bring the temperature down like to almost unbearable, because that's where I sleep the best. So of course you put your camera in there, the camera itself gets really cool, and then you go outside and what happens is all the camera lenses fog up. Not only the front element fogs up on the front of the camera, but the actual sensor and everything back in near the body of the camera fogs up. So, you know, you're waiting an hour for your camera to warm up and kind of just climatize to the surroundings so that it defogs. That's kind of the same kind of thing that you have to do with these. Now, I didn't run into anything because we never got our room kind of to that level of coldness, but I never had any fogging issues at all. I was concerned because I had read so many people talking about this fogging issue, and I was like, well, I never had any fogging issues at home, which makes sense because I'm kind of going from the same temperature that I'm inside to the same temperature or maybe even colder outside. Whereas when we were in Florida, of course, the room was colder, not a lot colder, but colder. And then to Celsius wise, which I don't know what it is in Fahrenheit, but I think it was, low to mid 20s, but no fogging. And if you are in the Insta360 desktop application, one of the settings for 360 and stuff like that is to actually say that you have the covers on there so that it knows that it has to stitch a little bit differently. So did I really notice it? No. I would think you would notice it if you were in a scenario, let's say, where I was shooting myself and I only had the camera, let's say, like this far away, and I was shooting in 360. Not that I don't know why you would do that, but let's say you were and you were coming back to you, I would think that the stitching would have issues there just because it's so close. But again, it also has probably some stitching issues when it's that close without those covers on it. For me, someone that has actually scratched their X2 because of my own fault, they're worth putting on. And if you are in a scenario where you're concerned, you can easily take them off, and they're only like $20. So if you only want to put them on for like dangerous or scary scenarios, then maybe just do that. 360 wise, worked really good. Now here's one of the really nice things that I did like about the 360 mode. And there was a time when we were having dinner and it was me and my wife and my daughter. So I set the 360 camera up just on a little, it was actually on this. I just stood it up and was asking my daughter some questions about how she enjoyed the day, And because of that, because of the 360 camera, with one camera, I could actually get this really cool split view. I could actually have some movement on both angles. I did a lot in post. I was using Final Cut, so I was able to spin the cameras around and do all kinds of stuff. This is not something I could do with a traditional camera. I would have easily had to either be sitting there spinning the camera around every time somebody did something, and even then I couldn't have had a split screen, or I would have had to shot the dinner, whatever, with two cameras. And when you're on holidays, who wants to do that? Who wants to look like a professional camera crew? Because what we've learned from a lot of people is that being a professional or looking like a professional camera crew can sometimes get you kicked out. So that's kind of nice. Now, the other thing that I did a fair bit actually was shoot in the 4K single lens mode, because I was really curious to see how well it would do. And for those of you that have watched my previous videos in regards to what kind of camera I want to shoot for my motovlogging stuff, now I'm really curious about using the X3 in single lens mode, because of the fact that one of the things that I really like, I'm a big fan of, is width. I love seeing width. So, traditionally, if you look at any of the, like the Ace Pro or the GoPros or the whatever they are, whatever action cameras they have, they barely get your handlebars into the shot. It's just what they are, because usually they're somewhere around, a 12 to a 14 mil wide, in that kind of range. But the X3 in single lens 4K mode is like, it's so wide. It's just crazy wide. And because it's in 4K, you may be thinking that maybe it's too wide. Well, you have 4K, so if you want to crop in 20% or 30%, have at her. You got lots of room. In the holiday videos that are on our other channel, you guys should go look at that. Just do a search for Greg and Mary Vlog and Travel, or Travel and Blog. I can't remember. You'll see all these videos come out. There's a lot of times I'm using the X3 in single lens mode, and I'm cropping in because I had it on this because I didn't bring like a ball head for it, so I couldn't angle it. So I am shooting like a little bit on an angle, right, like this. Because of that, I was getting a lot of head space, so I had to crop in so it didn't look like I didn't know what I was doing. You can't tell. You can't tell. Going down to 4K, down a little bit less, not doable, not seeable. These videos that you see here, always a little bit of a crop. I shoot a little bit wider so that I can crop in. The tech review stuff that I do downstairs with the top camera always gets cropped because I always have something on the table that I didn't want, or I need to zoom in a little bit closer to see something that a little bit more in depth or a little bit more detail. So definitely croppable, nothing wrong with that. So I do think that single lens mode could be a game changer, because I was always a person that highly recommended the Insta360 One RS because of its 360 mod and the 4K mod. But this may be close. This may be, you don't even have to change lenses. This, you just plop, pop it into the different mode. And because it has these little, you see them, these little buttons on the front, when you're in video mode and you just kind of tap on this one here, it'll change from 360 to single lens, and it goes single lens front, single lens rear, back to 360. So it's really easy to change modes to get it into that single. Big fan. It also has this me mode. I didn't use it, but it allows you to hold the camera kind of, again, it's like a single lens mode, but you can hold it just kind of straight like this, and it just shoots backwards and it captures you in a single lens mode. I didn't use it, but I think that's kind of cool. Now, the one thing to realize, and it is something to kind of put in the back of your head if you are looking at this camera, this is not a low light beast by any means, any stretch of the imagination. It really does want a fair bit of light. Now, it's not that it suffers incredibly bad once the light goes down, but if you put it up against, let's say, the Ace Pro or anything like that, which is not a 360 camera, you will notice that the X3 definitely wants more light, requires more light, just for it to be able to see all the edges and details so that it can stitch properly and it can stabilize properly and things like that. So again, you have to know what you're buying and if it's going to fill your needs. I think for a lot of people, this is going to be a fantastic camera. Number one, because the X3 has that 4K single lens mode. That to me is just a game stopper by itself. I think it's awesome. The other thing that is really cool with it is that, the microphone in it, I didn't get a mic adapter for this. So which is one of the reasons that I actually was using the Ace Pro so much, because I have the mic adapter and a little tiny mic on it so that I could help with the audio. But it wasn't bad. It wasn't bad at all. As long as you weren't in a scenario where you had a lot of wind or anything like that. I think for a lot of people, you could just get away with it the way it is. You just have to realize that any camera, I don't care what camera you have, if it's the internal mic without any kind of wind protection on it, so any kind of like a foam cover or a windsock or dead cat, whatever you want to call it, is going to have that nice little wind sound. It is what it is. But if you can get it in a kind of quiet environment or there's not a lot of wind, yeah, not bad at all. I ran it with this, just so you guys can see it. I ran it with this Telesin. It's a 10,000 milliamp selfie stick. Now, there's a couple bonuses of this. Number one is at Disney, they don't allow you to bring selfie sticks in. So when I walked in with this, I'm like, it's battery. They're like, yeah, that's cool, right? But yeah. And I could have this plugged in to this all day long and not even use like barely any of that battery. So it would always just be, it's just always charging, which was fantastic. It's a great little camera. This is not like a final, I want to say, review of the X3, because I will be using it a lot come riding season this summer, because I just think it's such a flexible camera to use. You can just do so much with it. If you're shooting in 360 mode, is there extra work that goes along with it? Yeah, 100%. But if you want to have that flexibility and you want to have that ability to just do stuff a little bit more out of the ordinary and just kind of separate your videos from somebody else that just has static shots all the time, it's a great investment. It's a super investment. That's it. X3. I like it. I've liked the 360 cameras since they came out, and I think Insta360 probably is the best in the game. All right, guys, I will put links down below to where you guys can pick up any of the Insta360 gear. It helps support me. This is not a sponsored video by any means, but it helps support me, and it doesn't cost you anything, and you may get something extra. Extra's cool. Yeah. All right, guys. If you have any questions, let me know down below, and we will see you guys next video. Later.